Welcome to Hashtime with Chiwanuka. This is a place where we help you unravel social constructs, discuss self-development in line with mental health, emotional well-being, and everything in between that directly or indirectly affects us in the millennial world around us. If you're hearing my voice for the first time and are the kind of person who is not scared of being a better version of yourself even if it requires you to contradict who you were 24 hours ago, consider this your virtual home. I'm your host, Chiwanuka, and I cannot wait to engage with you in the various conversations. For this year's Mother's Day episode, we could not get any other social construct unravelers save for the former Miss Uganda, Dr. Zoe Nakuya. She is a medical doctor and a health policy specialist who at the core values well-being, joy, happiness, passion, inner peace, and authenticity. She is the author of Choose to Live Happily Even After, and in it, she serves a collection of 9 empowering life lessons for the African single mother. Not just African single mothers, but any other person that has experienced single parenthood. In this episode, she gives us her wisdom and further shares how she experienced some moments in which she stood for what she believed in. Let's get into it. Hi Zoe.
Hello Nabuguzi.
Welcome to Hashtime with Chiwanuka.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me, hosting me.
The biggest deal is you saying yes to keep the conversations going.
Well, yeah, I guess sometimes you've got to say yes to, I think, that things that you think have meaning for you or value.
Yeah. So help us understand who Zoe is. I almost said doctor, then I was like, no.
Well, I think those are like titles. Sometimes I'm a bit hesitant about describing who I am based on what I do. You know, that's work I do or things that I've studied. But like, who is Zoe? Zoe is just, a regular girl, a regular woman who, is constantly growing, learning, explorative, inquisitive, a questioner. That's the kind of person I am. And then, of course, I'm a mother. And then, professionally, I'm a doctor. And then, I'm a writer. And, commented on many different social issues.
So you've talked about how you are ever growing. You're a constant grower, to say the least. I don't think this is something that we embrace. We feel like the moment someone hits a particular age, that is it. There is nothing else to learn. They're supposed to be perfect. And this, I'm saying it, you've brought it out very well, but in this, I've said it in light of, I'm going to go to the celebrity world a little bit, in light of the Jada issues that keep coming up to the news. She is someone who has come to a space of, I think, saying the same thing, maybe not very much. The time when I used to follow her a lot, when she would talk about growth and all those things, how she keeps learning and unlearning things. But for some reason, people are harsh on her. That's what I feel. Because, hey man, they don't like, how long? They're like, I think the common question is, when is she going to learn?
Okay.
Yeah.
What do they want her to learn? Because the thing is that the person themselves is the one to identify the area in which they need to learn. Yeah, of course, some other people might have their opinions of, whereas so and so have gaps, okay. But I think it's the person who needs to feel it, who needs to identify where they need to grow and then, seek out that growth. Personally, I see growth as a constant, not because of some of the things that I've read about or all that, but I saw my mother, there was some little thing that would change about her every day or every month, or my mother passed away at 80, and even before that, in those say the last decade, she was never someone who is like, okay, now I'm just seated, old age, I'm waiting for the day I'll go and what, there was always something that she was doing, adding to her life or to her home or to, that sort of thing. So so that's when I even started having questions about the issue of retirement. I'm like, why do I have to think about retirement? Maybe people should see it this way, like, okay, formal employment allows people to work in their institutions, maybe up to age 60 or 65, okay? So I'd rather call it like a transition from one stage of, work, one season of work to a different, another season rather than retirement, Because when you start thinking of retirement, the way that it's understood, how most people understand it, they start thinking of, slowing down, not taking on much anymore. And the funny thing with the mind, a little bit that I think I have learned or know is that when you start thinking that way in your mind, even your body starts listening to that, and according to body mind understanding of medicine, it's like even your cells, even your body starts succumbing to retirement is translated as old age, so you start that kind of downward trend. So for me, I see growth as a constant learning, expanding until the day you die. And I think the number of people that I draw inspiration from, they work well into their 80s and 90s. And so they reaffirm my mentality, my understanding that, as long as you have the mental, you're healthy mentally, you're healthy physically, keep on living and that sort of thing.
You've introduced yourself as a professional doctor.
I said professionally, yes,
professionally, you are a doctor.
Yeah, that's what I trained to be.
Yes. Is this something that you wanted to do growing up?
Not really. And I would say a yes and a no. Why? Because I chose the path of medicine at age 16.
Oh yeah.
How much did I know about the world at age 16?
Oh, did you have to know about the world? Okay, I think you do.
No,
to be a change maker?
I think to choose certain things, a lot of these things we choose them because that's the normal path that's available. It's different from a child who you see, as they're growing up, they're very talented in music or in acting or in this particular art, or but the majority of people, we get trained into certain paths of lives, So, of course, when you're in school and, you're performing a certain way, the academic setting as well as the family and social, background or social surroundings, they'll shape you in a certain way, So, in those days, the courses, for some people, do medicine, go for law, architecture, engineering, those sorts of things. So for me, I was very much steered towards medicine. So of course that now starts way back, like at 15, 16, you're trying to finishing up S4, and then you're making decision about the combination that you're going to take.
Right.
So you take that combination of subjects with the course in mind, the career in mind. So that's how it happened. And so I'm in medicine, and I can't deny I loved it. I enjoyed studying medicine, and actually didn't find it as hard as it is.
Well, smart people that don't have issues with biology or physics.
I had issues with physics when I was in secondary school, especially before senior 4. It was like I really used to find it a bit tough. But I think I'm not so much of a machine person and all that. And because we didn't have so much in terms of should I call it like enough equipment and all that. So a lot of these things you're studying theoretically, and they wouldn't make so much.
They don't add up.
Yeah, they wouldn't make so much sense to me.
Yeah.
But then now when I made the decision that I'm going to pursue medicine, so now like I had to do physics. I had to.
Wait, you did PCB?
Yes.
Wait.
Yes.
My dear.
I said PCB. I did PCB.
What?
Yeah. PCB sub-maths. Yeah. So now I had to find a way.
Sub-math?
We didn't. it wasn't like full maths. It's another type of,
I had the word, but I didn't do the course, the subject, so I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. So now I was like, I had to make friends with physics.
Yeah.
In a way. So I told mom to get me some textbooks. I always used to admire the girls who would ace it. I would be like, how do you guys do it? Anyway, I did it. I managed to pass it with a D2, and then proceeded on to HSC. Did it and went into my medicine. I was like, okay, now I can really study the real body, Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed the course. I enjoyed working in medicine for some time, and then went into public, health for some time. And but then as you grow through life, certain things happen in life, certain diversions happen, and then usually if you like pay a bit of attention, sometimes they start speaking to you, and you start finding who the core of you is. Yeah. And then you start to think that, oh, maybe I think that these other parts of me that were more of me, but were not identified then, and therefore were not addressed and taken on.
Talking about you coming to your core self, understanding your core being, at what point did you ever feel like, okay, what are the values or what are the things that my spirit stands for?
Okay. Yeah, that has been a process. When I was younger, we were, apart from being, taught more about the basics of, honesty, respect, and, honesty, respect, integrity, and, protecting like your dignity as you go through life, and standing for like who you are, like not to be swayed by everyone else's opinion and all that. And then of course the religious upbringing, the religious values that they tell you, like of course then they're also related to respect, honesty and all that, but then they do not encourage much about self-exploration, getting into self-knowledge, and really bringing out the person that you are, and standing up for that person and say, hey, this is what this and this says, but I believe this is what I believe, and this is how I see life, and I think it is valid, and I'll take that path. So it's been a journey of exploration, not exploration as in go here, there, whatever, but like of letting my mind unfold, of letting my mind receive the information that's coming through, because I think often we don't let that reception happen.
Like there is so much noise in society, so you're usually swayed by that.
Yes.
And you're supposed to fit in. Exactly,
you're supposed to fit in. So over time, some of the values that I have found really matter to me is knowing and accepting what I want, and actually giving it to myself, then also knowing that I will not always be something that pleases someone else, but does it address my forward movement? Does it address my well-being? Like I said, I'm a questioner. So over many years, I've had lots of questions about how religion prescribes, what life should be like, or how conventional social settings prescribe what life should be like, what a woman should be, how they should lead their lives. Then also we get definitions by institutions. For example, I offended a number of people when I went for the beauty pageant. and, socially, professionally, religiously.
Yeah. We're getting there.
I shook a number of people out of their seats, as in like, how do you dare go for that as a medical student? You're supposed to be a particular way,
Oh, you were still a student at that time?
I was finalizing. I was in the last semester, the last term of the last year, going for my final exams, and then I took this on. So to many people, like, who does that? Who does that? Are you in your right mind?
Yeah.
But I felt that it was okay. First of all, it was fun. It was like adventure. Try something else outside of the normal route. And yeah, so I did it. And even if it offended a number of people, I was like, but this is my choice. And if I feel that it's not going to compromise my other choices, then it is my choice and it's my decision. It's me who's living it. And I think also the presence of the people who loved me, the core people, for instance, my mom and a few of my family, because they talked to me, I was like, do you feel comfortable with this?
Oh, yeah.
They asked me, my mom asked me, are you okay with it? And I said, yeah, Mom, I'm okay with it. She said, you're sure? I said, yeah. She said, if you are, go ahead. I mean, we are behind you. So I think that's important. So being able to speak up and to communicate with the people, your core people.
Yeah.
I think that is helpful through life, but I think it has been helpful for me along the different seasons of life, because even when I was, I know people might be like, but because I changed from Muslim to Christianity, and that was also another season of change.
Let's first go in order. I don't know if it's even the order. Let's just go slowly.
Yeah.
This year's theme on Women's Day or the Women's Month was break the bias. And now me looking at you as a medical student, we have these chepes. They're called chepes.
Yes.
These, I don't know what are they called. What are they in English? Stones or what?
I don't know. I don't know the correct name for them right now.
I feel I have had a problem with some people being identified by the professions they choose. They are limited. That lawyers are not supposed to do this. Doctors are not supposed to be up for beauty pageants. And now for me, I'm looking at you as someone who is breaking the bias or even undoing the stereotypes that come with beauty pageants. I know you've spoken about the friction that you experienced choosing that. What was going on in your mind?
What was going on in my mind?
Were you ever scared that, oh my God, maybe I'm not going to be taken as a serious doctor at some point?
I think the thing is this, it's important to know what you're doing. I knew that I was good at my medicine. And I knew that, however much they talked, I was still going to do my stuff, and I was going to do it well. First of all, before I signed up for the pageant, I knew that I had studied, I had read. I'm not like the last minute kind of reader, because these things of waking up at night or early in the morning to cram things and that's not me. So I was always learning something or cementing what I have learned in the lecture. So by the end of that day, I've kind of reviewed it, and I have some at least foundational understanding of it. So it's not like I had a backlog of things that I have to pile up just because the exams are coming. So you've got to know your stuff. So I knew my stuff, and I knew that this, participating in this was not going to compromise me.
Right.
And even when I went to that side, I sat them down after becoming Miss West. I think that's where it started. I told them, look, to participate in the pageant, I'm not going to be able to be here, fully for the camps and the trainings and all that, because I'm having exams. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So do let me know if I should pull out now, or I will be accommodated to come on the weekends as and when I can to do whatever training or whatever social activities need to be done.
Yeah.
So they said, will you manage that running up and up and down? I said, yeah, it's okay, I'll do it. So know your stuff and then be open with yourself, honest with yourself and honest with the people that you're dealing with. So communication is key. So each side knew what was happening. I knew what was happening. My family knew what was happening, and the people at the pageant knew what was happening.
Right.
And, these are the people that I was dealing with. So people on the outside, they don't know my life. They don't know where I started from and where I'm going. So, whereas I was like, okay, why would they say this or that? And I was also aware that, certain stereotypes exist in society. So, I kind of I knew it was happening, but I kind of put it on the side.
At the time you were getting into it, did you have an idea of what we look or what society looks at beauty pageants as?
Yeah, I had a bit of an idea.
Yeah.
Because any girl or who would go into things like modeling or beauty pageants, not around the world but here, people had not a very good attitude about it.
Right.
But the thing is, it goes back to knowing who you are. I knew that that's their perception, is not who I am. So even if that's the perception they have, that's not how I'm going to turn out. And indeed, that's not how I turned out. So,
and then here you are. Do I say the name? From to Zoe?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
From Rehema.
I was Rehema, yeah.
To Zoe. Hey. What inspired this?
What inspired this? The change. I come from a Muslim family.
Yeah.
But then it's a mixed family. Because on both my parents' side, a few generations behind, they are Catholics. So they also, someone changed along the way and became Muslim, and then, that sort of thing. So it wasn't too strange to me. Christianity wasn't too strange to me. And then I had exposure to different systems.
Right.
Yeah. And then when I went to Namagunda, which was a Catholic Christian school, I wouldn't even say that they influenced me, because they would never kind of interfere with people's faith. And actually, as a Muslim, they used to facilitate our fasting. They would make for us Eid. They would give us special treats and special meals and all of that stuff, Yeah, but as a person, you grow. That thing that I said, when you start listening to yourself. So for me, I found that I had a more open way of communicating spiritually than I had on the Muslim side. I think because maybe it was in Arabic and all that, and I wanted a certain depth, So over time, I started transitioning in that, because I would pray in my language, Uganda or English, and I would feel like
it has.
I would feel it has sunk.
Yeah,
yeah. So I think that's where it started from, and then it grew, and then somewhere along in university, it really became really deep. In my heart, I decided that this was it. Although on the surface, I stayed.
Oh yeah.
As a Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after university, I actually told my mother, and I told her, Ma, I am transitioning to Christianity. Actually, I was away from here. I was abroad, but it got to that point where now I had to make that decision. So I called her and we talked, and at first she was not very happy.
Yeah, new information can really be unsettling.
Exactly.
You can be like, what?
Yeah, she was like, what? And then she was like, but now what am I going to tell your grandfathers? that whole bigger family and all that. So we talked on the phone. I told her, Mom, Mom, these spiritual decisions are really deep personal decisions. And I really feel this is for me. This is where I feel aligned. And I want to follow that path. Yeah. And so she said, well, I'm not yet comfortable with it. Maybe I don't understand it, but I'm not going to refuse you. I know. So if you've decided, go ahead. Because I think I had never really messed up the decisions that I took. So I'm just speculating because she didn't tell me that. So I think she was okay. She was comfortable with that because she realized I had not messed up my term as a beauty, my term of office. I had done it okay. And then after that, I tell her, Mom, I'm going abroad to study. And others like, where is the money? I told her, I'll figure it out. I'll pay for myself. So I figured my way out and I went. And then she realized, I was figuring it out. I was working and paying for myself. And she's like, so when I tell her this thing, I think she realized, you know what? She can handle it.
I can trust her with herself, in other words.
Yeah, so she had started really trusting me with myself. So she was like, if that's what you've decided, it's okay. Go ahead. We shall talk about it when you visit. And so along the way, it was okay to the extent that sometimes when I'd come back, or if say she's seen me she's like, hey, you've not gone to church today?
Oh, wow.
Yes, hey, they don't matter wagenze mu church.
Oh.
Yeah, then now I have to explain why I didn't go,
Because why are you leaving us and you're not doing what you went for?
Yeah. So of course, over time, before she departed, we would also discuss Christianity, and now, and we would even pray the Christian way even together, and she would say, Amen, and should be okay. And then over time, we had started talking about church, the building is not that thing. I mean, you can go there with, so you can pray together and all that sort of thing, but it's not the be all and end all, because at the end of the day, the church is within you, the altar is within you, like I've shared sometime, so that's where it begins from. When if you go to church, when inside here is a different story, that is just a show.
It's crazy how people are looking at churches in the eyes of their pastors, or they look at the pastors as the church, the be all, and what have you said and all.
Yes,
you cannot touch their pastor. They're untouchable. I've had other experiences.
Yeah.
So we have you as the author. The couple of things that you've introduced yourself as, happily ever after.
Even after, sorry. Yes.
That R and then N. Happily even after.
Yeah, that's on the book we underlined it. Even.
Yeah, because most of the time we say
it's
ever.
Happily ever after. Yes.
But then you have the side of even that you're opening us up to. We might be aware of it, but I think we are so much in denial of it. Can we have a little chat on what inspired you to come to that space of writing happily even after?
Okay. First of all, you know what the book is about.
I do.
What is it about?
But I don't want. And I want you to do it.
What inspired me? Well, the book is about single motherhood. It's basically about redefining the journey of single motherhood. And redefining the stereotype, or not even redefining, but actually cleansing oneself of the stereotype and seeing yourself in a different picture. Because the funny thing is this, like we said earlier, we get into this world and then we start putting ourselves in different boxes, and those boxes start defining us and start limiting us, so we have the societal setup of a girl a woman should be like this. So they start from a woman should be and will be like this. Okay. So now, once the girl child is born, they are set up from the beginning. As soon as they start, like, understanding and, having some sort of memory, say from 5, 6, 7 onwards, they start training you on the girl path, on the woman path, okay?
Yes, desukari, that kind of thing.
Okay, this woman, this girl, she's going to grow up. She has to be trained like this for the woman that she is supposed to become, that defined way, So you grow up like that. So when you grow up and, you follow the beaten path. Now, if you happen to fall off the beaten path, then all hell breaks loose. You're called many things. You're ostracized, directly and indirectly. Some people want to do it directly, but there'll be lots of whispers, behind you. And then, of course, as a group, you get ostracized in the media, in social circles, in church, in, like everywhere. It's like there's nowhere to turn. It's like once you get into the category of a single mom, or someone who has stepped away from their marriage, or someone who has been thrown out of their marriage, it's as if you've become a half human, because you're no longer fit the picture that was set for you. So you get lots of negative stuff said about you, thrown at you, and it definitely impacts your life, because in the early phases, it cuts you off a number of exposures, a number of opportunities, and then it messes up your mind as well. Then there are losses involved in that. So along that journey, you can get beaten down. You can get into, for some people, it can push them into depression, prolonged one even. And then a lot of times, because you've fallen off the beaten path, you may not get the support that you need, like from your partner or from the structures, the institutional structures that are supposed to support you. So, you fall back in the hands of your family, who, if you're blessed, they will, stand by you and, and walk with you and reassure you that,
if you are blessed.
If you are blessed.
That part.
Yes, because there are many who are like they don't get the warm welcome if they get off the beaten path. They'll be told all sorts of things. Why did you
have to
go
like back?
That? Or you have to go back? Or that's how it is. Everyone goes through that. That's normal. You just work it out. And I think because there are so many unhealthy relationships, so many unhealthy marriages, but because people have taken it like it's the norm, so it's what is modeled as the norm.
Things like you're on the first person.
So it ends up being like you're not unique to go through that. Therefore, as in, that's how the normal thing is, it's unhealthy. So just go with it. So like the unhealthy is made healthy, and so many people get stuck in there. So for those who say, what, I recognize this is not healthy for me.
I'm jumping ship.
I need to step out.
At the end of last month, we launched an online store for all of us to be able to access our podcast merchandise. The podcast is run on a freemium model, and that means that I do not charge you at all to have access to the podcast conversations. But because I have a few running costs and the goal to acquire a podcast studio, you can support the podcast by purchasing one or even all the merchandise available. Check out the show notes for the link to the store, and if your podcast does not show you the hyperlink, check out our social media pages for the link to the store. Let's get back into the conversation.
I have a friend who, she was married.
Yes.
And then she was somewhere and someone called her. She was like, you're there in your comfort zone. Do you even know that your husband has a child somewhere else. I don't know if it was the exact woman who called her. But meanwhile, she was up in this marriage. She was catering for this guy. She was doing almost everything for this man. Right from the time when they were at the university, she was getting her internship money to fund this person. And then there they are in the marriage with 3 children, and she hears this, and the moment she confronts him about it, he gets violent. One time their first child found him strangling her. So I shared this with my cousin because I was so much in shock. I was like, no, she shouldn't be going through this. And then my cousin was like, sure, she's not the first one.
Yes.
So now what she did for me in that moment is that she was invalidating
The other
my
person's-
shock.
Yes, your shock. And the other person's experience
Exactly.
as well.
She's like, she's not the first. Those things happen. I was like, what? And I think, how long back is this?
Yes.
It's a couple of years, and I'm like, every time I remember her response, I'm like,
Yes.
no, it
Yes.
can't be like that.
Yes.
So when you talk about how society is just like normalizing the things that we should be stepping out of or asking people to do better,
Yes.
I
yes.
really relate with you.
Yes. So we should be asking ourselves to do better, and we should be asking our partners to do better, and they need to be asking themselves and driving themselves to do better. And this does not happen to just women. Although I wrote from my perspective,
Yes.
inside the book, you actually realize that it's about anyone who is been in a relationship, is in a marriage, or aspires to be in a marriage or relationship. Because I have many guy friends, or I know many other men who have also gone through stuff, and they're quiet, or they are supposed to just shoulder it and all that, because even the other side, even us women, we can be more or less the unhealthy ones, and putting in stuff that does not really fertilize the relationship. Or you both can be. Each one of you is not stepping up to the plate, and you're not bringing this thing together. So sometimes maybe there's no physical violence; it might not be there, but just other subtle forms of dysfunction that just really kill the marriage. And sometimes the two people are not either one of them or both of them are not willing to step up to the plate and work this out. Or if it's only one willing partner, then it can't work, because this is something that's made by two people, and then it involves children, so it's a unit, so everyone must do their part. So you can't do just a one-sided thing. So unfortunately, it's as long as you're living together, as long as you made those vows or made that decision, you just carry it on, especially if there are children involved, for the sake of the children. But I've seen enough around me and around the world to see that when children grow up in an unhealthy home, even if it has both parents, they incur more trauma than if they were with one parent who is happy, or the parents are living separately, so they experience each parent in a different space. But when each parent is happy, I mean, there are instances when two people are not going to get along for the long term. I mean, it happens, and we must acknowledge that. Or sometimes people make mistakes in choosing partners. It does happen.
Friends.
It's not always an absolutely 100% correct decision. Okay? You choose an unsuitable partner, and then for some, maybe you both get there and you're like, okay, maybe a few things were missing, but let's work together to get things right. Let's But then sometimes you find that one party is not willing to do and to make any adjustments, or both of them. Now, the truth is, life is short. Okay, life is short, so you must ask yourself, how do you want to live that short life? Really, if say you had 1 month to live, 2 months, 1 year to live, in any situation you need to ask yourself, is this how I want to be living this 1 year that I have left? And then on the other hand, life is long. if I'm going to live up to 80,
Oh my God.
up to 90,
I'm definitely not subjecting myself.
is
to
this
that.
what I want to subject myself to for all those years? You get what I'm saying? So, but at the end of the day, it's an individual decision that one has to come to and decide, you know what? It's me as an individual. This is what I'll do. You know, no one can make that decision for anyone. And the other thing is that mostly we hesitate because of the bashing that we expect, the suffering that is, the suffering tales that are told about being about getting out of a marriage or about being a single parent. So we are normally we are scared of that. We are scared of being ostracized. We are scared of the losses we are going to make. We are scared of having to get in the game again if one ever chooses to, ever chooses to remain open to getting another partner. So that's scary for people. It's like, I can't do this all over again. So they're like, oh, let me just stay. So a lot of things, obstacles, sometimes imagined obstacles that keep people put. But for those who make the decision and say, you know what, hey, I'm jumping into the ocean, let me swim and see what happens.
Someone who made it so funny, she was like, you guys, remember when I said I was taken? They have brought me back.
Oh, someone just shared something like that yesterday. And it was
sad. Like, she was enjoying her relationship. She's a friend. She was enjoying her relationship. And I don't know, where was I when I saw that? It hit me. I was like, no, who has broken my darling's heart? But the way how she brought it out was so funny. She's like, hey guys, that brought me back. You've made very powerful points in, I think I should tackle it two ways.
Yes.
The moment when you talked about how life can really be long.
Yes.
And the bit of where abuse is not just physical, does not just come in the physical form. I have seen people that are possibly in their 60s and their men are still abusing them. And it still confuses me today, like, how are you still here in your old age? Like, you're supposed to be enjoying your old age. How are you still finding yourself in a position of, I need validation. I need validation from this man. I need to prove to them that I am worthy. Like, it's crazy. And for me to think about that length of time, I don't know how long of a cycle this person had to go through to the time of 60, 70. They have grandkids, meanwhile.
Yes.
But they still have to. It's baffling for me. Like, even when I'm saying it, no. Others are possibly about to become grandparents and their husbands are still physically abusing them. They are beating them up. I don't know how we are okay with that as society. How we come up and say, the first, what is going on with us?
I think it's been taken like that, like traditionally. For centuries, the man is the boss. And there is this, the dance between paternalization, of the whole marital relationship. It's almost like, like the man is the god, the little god of the relationship. And, infantilization of women, like your children who basically must be just guided and directed and watch. You don't make decisions. You don't make real solid contributions to relationships and marriages. And it was set up in such a way that it's handed down through the institutions, both the religious and the cultural and subtle other ways of the media. So the woman knows that, I must be disciplined, and if I get off that path, then maybe if he did that, he's bringing me into the path, because our understanding of self-worth has been warped. The way we are brought up is that you find your self-worth from the approval and acceptance of other people, and usually from the acceptance and approval of the big people in your life. The big people those are your religious leaders, those are your like say your partner, your husband, those are your parents, those are your older siblings, and that sort of thing. So these umbrellas above us, we seek that approval from them, and so if you that's where your worth is. So if you do not venture into exploring what real self-worth is, then you'll be tied to those definitions. So you will do your best, psychologically it becomes part of you. You do your best to keep it, to keep that sort of you have to fit in, you have to be accepted, so this is how it goes on year after year, and then you get into your 50s or your 60s, and maybe the woman has not like really put some other stuff aside for herself, like let me say a fallback on plan, and this is what she has known. Let's say she's been married since 25 or 23 or 20. I mean, she's been here for almost 40 years. So like, this is like a part of her fabric, and tearing herself away from that is a very tough decision. It's a very tough decision psychologically. So sometimes it kind of seems like pseudo easier to stay with the pain, than the possibility away from that pain. So these are patterns that actually get ingrained into your psyche, and they drive how you live, your behavior. It becomes part of you. So many deep in their hearts, they would prefer a different situation, but this is all they've known, and this is all that the world or the outside or their social circles know about it. So it can be like, you've been there up to 60. So now what next? I mean,
and indeed you actually ask yourself, indeed, where am I going?
I mean, now where are you going? What, you want another partner? Now you're going to leave your children and your grandchildren, and because then we have these nice family setups, these what should I call them? I think they are the little sweets of family life, the little sweets. You suck on a sweet and it kind of soothes that pain, So your child graduates, and then you all have a party together. You have these baptisms, and then you have a party together, and then your children visit and you share a cup of tea together and all those sorts of things. So those sweets, let me say those sweets, those cakes, they kind of keep balming. They are as like a soothing balm to whatever other pain might be going on to in the relationship. So when someone thinks of tearing themselves away from this, you're thinking, now I'm going to tear apart all these family traditions, like now where are my kids going to come, say, for visiting on the weekend or for these graduation things. So there's so much actually to consider that it's never an easy decision for someone. And it could be women on, for the most part. I mean, statistically, it shows that women go through these things more, but also men I've had the opportunity to have like lots of conversations with men of different ages, and they go through stuff as well, and as women, we are not like physically macho, so a woman might not beat a man physically, but she might take him through a really difficult, time.
I've heard stories,
and he might not be able to say, to leave the family and say, what, let this end. So maybe he might opt to have another relationship outside, or he might just stay and, you're both living in a dead thing, but you have the home and the marriage and, that sort
You
of
have the
thing.
case.
Yeah, so it's actually never really an easy decision. And I don't judge the people who stay because it's a tough decision, I'm telling you. It is. Yeah.
Some of the stereotypes that come with the mention of single parenthood. What is that thing that really alarms you? Like, what? Is that something that has shocked you?
Well, first of all, there is this stereotype of like, once you're a single mom, on one hand, you could be desperate to get another relationship. So some men might think that like you're an easy target. Okay, because they think that you're looking for another partner. And so there is that. So at first it would shock me, but then I got to understand it. So like it stopped bothering me. Yeah. And then there is the other type that people think you hate men.
Oh yes.
That you hate men, you hate relationships, you hate marriage. As in, even any single constructive comment that you might give about the transformation that's needed in relationships or marriages, people might just say, that one, because, she just doesn't like relationships, or because she's bitter, or because of, that sort of thing. So people can easily dismiss what you're saying, apart from those who have actually gone through the experience and they know what you're talking about, or maybe they're in a marriage and they can actually feel what you're talking about. They are open to listening to different perspectives, and they're like, child, get a call. It's real and it needs to be addressed. So you get those, those two, like on opposite ends,
right?
And then they think like basically you hate it so much, so you probably don't want even to get married again or to be in a relationship again, and what? Then they fail to actually realize that it was not marriage or relationship that you were against. It was the fact that you chose to step away from something that wasn't working.
Right.
Or for some, they were thrown out of a relationship or marriage. So it is two sides of, actually three sides. One, you stepped away. Two, you were thrown out. Three, you as partners both decided that this is not working. Let's release it. Let's release each other and give ourselves an opportunity to find something different.
I'm looking at you as someone I'm looking at you in three ways of breaking bias: religion, profession, and the family settings as well. How do you take care of your mental health as the questioner that you are, and people coming up with all these things thrown at you? How do you stay grounded?
Yeah. It's been a process. I won't say that I was always like this. It's been a process. When you talked about, let's say that beauty pageant versus the profession and all that didn't bother me so much, actually. Maybe I was still young. And
experiencing adulthood.
So it didn't bother me so much. But the relationship part of it did actually bother me, in the earlier stages, because I set out to have things work. I set out to have things work, and then I was kind of like, even if I knew these biases existed and the stereotypes and all that, I was not prepared for how it would hit me, like how I was going to receive the stones. Because then once it happened, and then I actually started knowing about something is one thing, but now being in the experience of it is another thing. So actually receiving the stones from the different sources, and that was a bit of a challenge to deal with in the beginning. And at first I felt like, you feel like you don't fit in. You feel like, okay, this space now is no longer for me. When you go to church, you realize that now there are certain groups that you don't fit in anymore. You know, certain friends actually start stepping away from you.
Whoa.
Yes. Because now you're no longer adding, you know, like the married or relationship conversations and all that. And also, not everyone is at a stage of understanding what you're going through, okay? Because when you're going through a challenging moment in life, you're not going to be there just conversing about the happy stuff about life and all that sort of thing, okay? And not everyone is in position to be a receptor to, you know, what you're going through. So with time, I understood that and I became comfortable with it. I started knowing that, oh, this person is just not ready, or sometimes they've not processed this and they don't know how to deal with it. Because even we ourselves sometimes find it hard to deal with the changes in our own lives. Now, how about another person dealing with the changes that are happening in your life, you know? So it becomes a bit tough. So it was a gradual process of reading and learning from other people, from, you know, different teachers, mental health teachers, spiritual teachers, and then also learning more about who I am. And realizing that, hold on a minute, when I'm born as a baby, I come into the world all full and worthy and like no demands. I mean, like that understanding really like changes things. Because I mean, you come, you poo anywhere, you pee anywhere, you scream, you know, but everyone thinks you're worthy. Everyone thinks you know, you have a right to be here. You get me, okay? And then you come with no definitions. You come with no boxes. And then you get here and then they start measuring you according to certain boxes. So now I had to go back into that understanding and started dismantling all these boxes because these are transitional things in life. Because I was like, hold on, before I was in a marriage, there was a single me and I was happy and I was okay and, you know, felt myself, felt my worth and all that. So now how is it that this particular setting, because it has not turned out what it was expected to be, why should it, you know, start defining me, you know? So I'm like, people lose lives, we die. Okay, we lose loved ones, people lose billions of money of enterprises. Okay, and so you count this as another loss in life or a change in direction, you know? And so I was going through all those things, you know, going inwards. You have to stop listening to what the world is saying and then going inwards and listening to what's going on within you and asking yourself, where is this coming from? How is it affecting me? How can I see it differently? And then you start changing your perspective around it. And then you also start looking at the people who have gone through your path and then redefined their paths and actually made them work better for them, maybe even better than what they had before. So then you start reshaping, you know, your life, and the clouds start lifting, and
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I feel like I've been in a master class of some sort.
Oh, please.
A non-defined, or maybe find yourself master class. So thank you so much for sharing your time. What is that particular word that you feel like you should leave with us at the end of the episode?
At the end of this episode, I think that particular message would be, take time to find yourself. You're not out there. You're not what others have decided you should be. When you take the time and find yourself, and then you get to know yourself, and then you get to see how you can walk that self that you have found through this world in a constructive manner that does not bend to, you know, to expectations, but at the same time does not, live in a way that is destructive to others. And also accepting that, that self that you have found, of course, will have to, it needs to find, common ground within where you're living, the society you're living in, but without getting lost in it. Because we can't be islands. And I always tell that to my children as well. I'm like, you're not an island, If we are in this house, yes, you're an individual, but, we have to find a way of working with our individual differences and all that. But then not to get lost in a sea. Like, swim in the world, but don't get lost in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too for inviting me.
Zoe, we are grateful for the insights you have shared with us in this Mother's Week. My takeaway from this episode is that in all that you choose to do, communication is key. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Hashtag with Nabuzi Chiwanuka. If you loved what you heard, make sure you subscribe to Hashtag with Nabuzi Chiwanuka in your podcast platform of choice and share it with your friends, loved ones, and every other person that is affected by the millennial world around us. Also, feel free to share your insights about what connected with you on social media and be sure to tag us. We are at Hashtag with Nabuzi Chiwanuka on Facebook and Instagram, and on Twitter, our handle is at HTNK Podcast. You can also reach us on our email, htnkpodcast@gmail.com. I really look forward to hearing from you. And while we wait for the upcoming episode, remember that as an unraveller, communication is key.